Hello, my friends. These tricks cannot stop me. My magic is much stronger. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. The moon shone into the diner. 2 days past full, I spotted its reflection in the pie cooler's glass door. Spinning my stool so I faced the plate glass window, I saw it hanging above my bearded reflection like a brilliant idea or a second bald head. Wired from my 4th cup of coffee, I tilted my head back and quietly howled. Carrie elbowed me. Knock it off, hairball. People's trying to eat. Hey, you got more hair than I do. Down the counter, Sophia frowned. You shouldn't, though, Jacob. It's not respectful. That surprised me. Respectful to who? To the people who were killed. Say what? Carrie said. What people? Oh, yeah, Rob agreed, the other side of Sophia. For a few years, Drunken Tree had a bigger murder rate than Argenta. Argenta's 8 or 10 times the size of Drunken Tree Village, and has a university besides. See, Sophia said, there was a werewolf here. Carrie laughed. Arun. By now Sophia's frown tightened half her throat. I'm serious. Shut up and listen, okay? Okay, sorry. There were a bunch of people in here one night, and a guy comes in. He orders 3 hamburgers and sits down, but people hear him growling, and all of a sudden he sprouts hair and claws and shit. What was he taking? I asked, rubbing my smooth scalp. I could use some of it. If I'd hit any hair, Sophia's glare would have shriveled it. You all think this is a joke. It's not. People died. People die every day, Sophie. Carrie said. Just tell your story. Wait, was it a full moon? That's what I heard. Well, first he clawed up the cook because his burgers took too long. Then everybody started trying to run out the door, and they got all jammed up, and the werewolf ripped off a guy's head, and the rest of the people broke the doors out. He chased them into the street, and killed a girl there. Wow, Carrie said, subdued. I didn't know. 2 people died, and the cook was crippled, and some other people got sort of trampled, and the werewolf ran off and nobody ever figured out who he was. Carrie picked up a French fry, looked at the ketchup, laid it down again. That's messed up. I had to agree. I'd researched that night for years and never heard a more garbled version. Rob also agreed. It turned out, geez, Sophia, you got nearly everything wrong. I started to worry the frown would freeze on her face. What do you know about it? She asked. More than you. I was here. I heard a snort by the cash register. Sure you were. The counterman, Aldo by his name tag, had gotten interested. Half the university was here that night if you believe everyone. He stepped closer. No offense, kid, but if 1/10 the people that say they were here really were, this place would have looked like the biggest phone booth stuffing stunt in history. Rob shrugged. I was, though. So were you, and that black cook, Jerome. You used to wear a red apron. Hey, yeah, I did. That thing saved my balls that night. Jerome dropped his flipper, crawling under the counter, and I slipped on the grease and hit the fryer. Splashed hot grease all over my front. I shucked that apron fast to Gypsy Rose Lee. If it hadn't been so thick, I'd have probably fried my man bits. He looked at Rob more closely. Where were you? Rob pointed down the counter's length. I'm the one who broke out that window. He leaned forward, elbows on the counter. You see. Sophia cut him off, gaping at Aldo. You saw that night, and you still work here? Why shouldn't I? I gotta work somewhere. Well, but what if he came back? Aldo chuckled. What? You think he misses our burnt sugar pie? Her voice low and throaty. Carrie said, that's why I come here. We all laughed. Seriously, though, no reason he should come back here. It's probably just an accident he was here at all, just passing through. But the memories. How can you? Sophia looked at us, baffled. They should have closed this place, she said, a little loudly, or put up a plaque or something. Oh, God. Rob said. I bet you leave flowers at roadside crosses. He struck home with that. Tears flashing, Sophia said, my cousin was killed on Highway 207. My sister and I put up a cross for her. So, it's not enough your cousin's death. You gotta make total strangers feel bad. People die. Sophie, you gotta grieve and go on. It's not fair to try and make the whole world grieve. She pulled a 20 out of her purse and shoved it blindly at Carrie. I gotta go. She ran out the door, tears in her eyes. That was pretty shitty, Carrie said. Rob looked abashed. Yeah, well, I really hate those crosses. Come on, Jacob, back me up. I shook my head. I don't like those crosses. I'm not big on grief, but Carrie's right. That was shitty. I didn't mind, though. Sophia had nothing useful for me. Aldo had already cleared away Sophia's dishes and laid her check by Carrie's plate. No rush, he said. I said, so what happened that night? Carrie looked at me and shrugged. Okay, yeah, what happened? Watching for Carrie to object, Rob slid onto Sophia's stool. I was here with a girl. I can't even remember her name anymore. We were sitting over there. He pointed at a short row of two-person booths. I didn't see the guy coming. He was alone at the counter and just starts growling and snarling. And he grows these giant claws, like a bear. He stands up, and all of a sudden he's like 7 feet tall. People are screaming and running for the door. Aldo nodded. Rob went on, a big guy, biker type, tries to get the guy in a headlock. The guy just reaches behind him and rips the biker guy's belly open, like it was paper. Now, when the bear guy first stood up, he broke his stool right off the floor. Aldo interrupted. The inspector made Cliff replace all the stools after that. Said they weren't sturdy enough. Well, I'm lucky that one broke. It fell right by our booth. The bear guy and the biker were fighting, and everybody else was pushing at the front door. And I just grabbed that stool and heaved it through the side window. My date and I jumped out and ran like hell, and a bunch of people came after us. That's where the other girl was killed. She tried to jump out the window and fell on broken glass, cut her belly open. I winced. Rob sipped his coffee. Freaky thing is, the bear guy didn't hurt anybody until the biker jumped him. He could have claimed self-defense. Ain't that how it went, Aldo? The counterman said, be right back, and went to ring up a family. Staring at Rob, Carrie reached blindly for her soda. I took her hand and guided it. She faced me, pale and quiet, eyes wide. I shrugged. I wasn't here. That really happened? She turned back. Rob, you really saw that? Yeah. Never been so shit scared in my life, except for the Orkney tornado. The guy was a complete freak. Didn't grow hair, though, just got huge and grew claws. That's right. No hair. Aldo was back. I'm gonna tell Darla she ought to rename this place Rashomon. I knew what he meant, but the others looked blank. Say what? Carrie said. Rashomon? The Kurosawa movie? What's Kurosawa? Rob asked. Some kind of anime? He's a movie director. Jeez, you kids don't watch anything wasn't made this millennium. I didn't bother telling him I preferred Kurosawa's Stray Dog. Anyway, Rashomon's about 4 people telling the same story, only they all see it different and tell it differently. Carrie got the hint. So what's your version? He ticked a finger at Rob. You didn't get so much wrong as that lil girl you ran off, but you didn't get it all right, either. He came in, kinda shaggy haired but nothing freaky, with a girl, same as you. They sat at the counter. I got them both burgers, and they started eating, and by I notice he's looking upset. She's looking really serious, and I think, uh-oh, she's giving him the Dear John. Next thing I know, he's out and out crying, not out loud, but just running tears, and kinda hiccuping, you know. I think she's gonna walk out, now, but instead, She puts her arms around him, and his face is just like a dam's breaking inside. He lets go this one big sob, and then his face he stopped, at a loss. His face just grows, except that's not really it. There's more behind his face, and then he stands up. I heard the stool break. Didn't know what it was. Watching him, he was bigger and taller. You're right there, he must have been over 7 foot, and he's got claws. No fangs, though, not like people said. Just the same teeth, and no new hair. Carrie grinned. Sorry, Jacob. Jerome's diving under the sink. That's when I slipped and hit the fryer. The time I got my apron off, he'd already killed the one guy and the place is nuts. I saw a guy throw the stool through the glass. That was you? That guy had black hair, all dressed in black. Rob ran a hand over his sandy hair. I was doing a goth thing then. He even had black nail polish. Dad saw me in black lipstick one day. I thought he'd had a heart attack. Well, you threw the stool, and I threw my apron over the guy's head and ducked under the counter with Jerome. We didn't stand up until we heard sirens. A couple of years earlier, there'd been a shotgun under the counter, but Cliff's wife made him take it out. We stand up, and the place is empty except for 2 dead people. The one guy, I guess he did look kinda like a biker, but he worked at the hardware store. The girl, I never knew who she was. Jerome wanted to slide out the back. I made him stay and back me up. Like you'd think, the cops had a million questions. I just told them what I saw, and made Jerome do the same. They thought it was nuts, but 4 or 5 other people had come back after the cops showed up, and told the same story, more or less. He poured coffee down the counter, refilled my cup, and told Rob, "There's another thing where you're wrong. He didn't have bare claws. They were more like a cat. I saw him them. The girl he'd been sitting with, he pushed her away, before the hardware guy jumped him. Then them claws popped back out after he pushed her out to reach. He tried to protect her, but she was the girl got killed in the window." Aldo looked at me. "Well, Rasherman's got 4 stories. What's yours?" "I wasn't there," I said. "I've heard about it, made it kind of a hobby, but never heard so much detail. I never looked for you. I heard you'd quit. Guess somebody mixed up you and Jerome." "Yeah, Jerome did quit, moved to Memphis, and Cliff sold the place to Darla a year later. But I'm still here." After that, there didn't seem to be any more to say. Carrie's appetite, even for burnt sugar pie, was gone. She paid her check and Sophia's, left a generous tip, out of her change, not Sophia's, and told us good night. I sat, sipping coffee, while Rob finished his onion rings. When we left, I noticed Rob left only around a 10% tip, about what I expected. We walked out together, around the corner to the gravel lot. In the cool air, the moon bright above us, I said, "Rosemary and Ginger." "What?" "Rosemary and Ginger. The girl you were with, and the girl who was killed." "An herb and a spice, kind of a coincidence." He looked blank, then thoughtful. "Could have been Rosemary. We never went out but that once. Met at a party, split up at a massacre." He frowned, reminding me comically of Sophia. "How do you know?" "I met her about a year after that night. She didn't remember your name either. She never noticed you dyed your hair." "I've been looking for a black-haired guy all this time." I looked up Carrie cause I heard Sophia knew something. "I never expected to luck onto you." "What? You've been collecting everybody's story? You some sort of researcher? Debunker?" He scoffed. "You got a blog?" "No. Just trying to find out what happened to Ginger." I leaned against Rob's dodge. "She was my best friend in high school, like a kid sister. We'd have probably got married, but turned out we were both gay." Rob stiffened and pulled away. "Oh, relax, numbnuts. I'm not gonna rape you in the parking lot." "Geez, the whole world revolves around you, doesn't it? He managed to look a little shamefaced. So she went to college and I went to work, and I didn't see her for a couple of years. Just talked on the phone every week or two. I could sense Rob's impatience. What's this got to do with me? Then something really bad happened to me, and I needed to talk about it. I called her, and we made a date to meet here. I showed up late. You said you weren't here. The first trace of fear was in his voice. I can tell lies, too. I saw the two hit him. I'm going bald anyway, but I shaved my head and grew a beard when I started researching, in case anybody remembered me here. In your case, it's wasted effort. You're too self-centered, self-important to remember me. Was it you? He looked up at the moon. 2 days past full. I never hurt you, man. Ginger and I were at the counter. I told her I'd lost a month of my life. I still don't know what happened. One day it was the middle of June and I'm at home, the next it's nearly the end of July, and all I remember in between is something like a long restless night with a lot of weird dreams. My phone's gone, and I'm miles from home in torn up clothes. And there was something else wrong, something I couldn't talk to anybody about. So I called Ginger, and we're here at the counter, and I start crying cause it hurts so much to talk about. And that triggers the change. He swallowed. Not the moon. Nope. Grief. Nobody loves me. Dog ran away. Mum just died. Heartache. I shrugged. As I said before, I'm not big on grief. I'm more the bottle everything up sort, long as I can remember. But Ginger put her arms around me, and boom, I could hardly hear him. He'd grown so breathless. Why are you telling me this? Rosemary told a different version of the story. For one thing, you ran off and left her for the monster to eat. And she couldn't remember your name, so she never said anything to the cops about how Ginger died. But when I found her, she told me. She saw me change and saw you throw the stool. She saw me push Ginger back, out of harm's way. And she saw you grab Ginger and push her across the window frame, across the broken glass, so you could use her as a stepping stone to get out. He was trembling from head to foot. I smelled where he'd soiled his pants. Okay, Ginger, I thought. I can be sad now. I thought about my friend, about how much we'd shared. I thought about her embracing me that last night, and felt tears begin to sting. God, Ginger, I cried out. I miss you so much. Sometimes, it's necessary to let the grief out.